Welcome to the CGSI Virtual Cultural USA Road Trip, October 2022. This stop is Pittsburgh in Western Pennsylvania, and I am your tour guide, Lisa Alzo. Pittsburgh is the second largest city in Pennsylvania behind Philadelphia. It is known as the Gateway to the West and the Steel Center of the world. Pittsburgh was named for William Pitt by General Forbes after the fall of French Fort Duquesne in 1758. Pittsburgh was laid out as a town by John Campbell in 1764 and incorporated as a city in 1816. In addition to being known as the Gateway to the West, Pittsburgh has had other monikers such as the City of Bridges, the City at the Point, and the City of Champions, thanks to its professional sports teams, the World Series champions Pittsburgh Pirates, the Stanley Cup champion Pittsburgh Penguins, and the six-time Super Bowl champions, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh is also my hometown. I was born and raised there. Because of its steel-producing past, Pittsburgh earned the reputation as the Smoky City. An essay called Pittsburgh by James Parton, which first appeared in the Atlantic Monthly's January 1868 edition, detailed how the problem had been plaguing the city since the 19th century. He described conditions in the city where 230,000 people lived at the time by writing, quote, "Walking up a long hill to Cliff Street in Pittsburgh and looking over into hell with the lid taken off." He said, quote, "The town lies low, as at the bottom of an excavation, just visible through the mingled smoke and mist, and every object in it is black. Smoke, smoke, smoke. Everywhere smoke." The Smoky City reputation was a result of the many steel plants founded by business mogul Andrew Carnegie. One of these plants was located in Duquesne, the town where I grew up. Both of my immigrant grandfathers worked in the Duquesne mill. In July 1892, a dispute between Carnegie Steel and the Amalgamated Association of Iron and Steel Workers exploded into violence at the steel plant owned by Carnegie in Homestead, Pennsylvania. In what would be one of the deadliest labor management conflicts in the nation's history, some 12 people were killed when striking workers attacked 300 Pinkerton detectives hired as security guards by the plant's management under Henry Clay Frick, chairman and chief executive of Carnegie Steel. All this was occurring while Carnegie was vacationing in Scotland. In 1901, Carnegie merged several companies into U.S. Steel. By 1910, Pittsburgh was the nation's 8th largest city, accounting for between a third and a half of national steel output. The city's population swelled to over a half million, with European immigration via Ellis Island in New York Harbor. This photographic postcard depicting the furnaces of the Duquesne mill is from 1905, 5 years before my paternal grandfather, John Alzo, arrived in Duquesne. In 1943, my grandfather's average weekly wage was $34. He retired after more than 40 years of service as a millwright. As a child, I remember summer evenings standing on the back porch of my grandma and grandpa Figler's 2-story house on Hill Street in Duquesne. The porch faced the steel mill, and I would watch the blue and orange flames which burned from the largest blast furnace, which the Duquesne residents affectionately named Dorothy. The flames seemed to dance as they emitted their bright light in the darkened sky. Sadly, in 1984, the Duquesne steel plant closed for good. After undergoing a renaissance and with the development of a strong medical presence and scientific presence as well, Pittsburgh made a comeback. In 2005, 2009, and 2011, Pittsburgh was named the most livable city in the United States. Various publications have sung Pittsburgh's praises as a great place to live. The historic Pittsburgh Agreement was signed in Pittsburgh on May 31, 1918. It declared the intent of Czechs and Slovaks to form a new democratic nation in Europe, free from outside rule. Thomas Masaryk, an author of the agreement, became the first president of Czechoslovakia. The meeting was held at the Loyal Order of Moose building on Penn Avenue in Pittsburgh. A historical marker now stands at the site of this location. It's no surprise that the Pittsburgh Agreement was signed there. No other city in the United States is home to more Slovaks than Pittsburgh. But Pittsburgh also attracted significant numbers of immigrants from Central and Eastern Europe, and other groups such as Czechs and Carpatho-Rusyns brought their customs to America. Food has always been a part of the culture of Pittsburgh, both in families and in the community. The top photo is of my mother, Anna Alzo, who would always make pierogi for our Christmas Eve celebrations. After my mother passed away in 2000, my aunts continued the tradition of making homemade pierogi for the family to enjoy. Immigrants founded their own churches and schools. The top right photograph is of Holy Trinity Roman Catholic Church in West Mifflin, Pennsylvania. This was the church I was baptized in and my family attended. Holy Trinity School was attended by my father, and later I attended this school when it became Duquesne Catholic. The bottom right photo shows a classroom of students where my aunt, Sister Mary Camilla Alzo, taught for several years. This was Holy Trinity School. Later, she went on to live in Victoria and San Antonio, Texas, and taught school there. Playing sports was a way of life in Pittsburgh and Western Pennsylvania. My father, John Alzo, was a star basketball player for Duquesne High School and went on to play for intramural teams including the CIO and the Steelworkers, and also semi-professional teams such as the Altoona Pros. The Duquesne Zemps were a Sandlot team of guys that played on the Polish Hill fields. This baseball team originated from a group of players in 1933. Most of the team members were first-generation Americans whose parents primarily immigrated from Zemplín County in Slovakia, hence the name Zemps. Ethnic celebrations were a big part of the communities in Pittsburgh. This photograph was of a group of ethnic dancers performing in front of the Carnegie Library of Duquesne. The Duquesne Library was torn down in 1968 and replaced with a plan of homes. Slovaks participated in community events such as the one shown in the photo on the left, the Monessen Golden Jubilee. They were also musicians on the Slovak Radio Hour on WHJB and formed social clubs such as the Slovak Civic Federation in Duquesne, the site of many weddings, Christmas parties, and other special events. In Westmoreland County, the American Slovak Society had its own picnic area in Bradenville. The National Slovak Society was formally founded in Pittsburgh on February 15, 1890, to unite persons of Slovak and Slavonic ancestry in a fraternal benefit society. Pittsburgh also had local branches of other fraternal beneficial societies, such as the First Catholic Slovak Union and the Ladies' Pennsylvania Slovak Catholic Union, among others, and also had many sokols. The National Slovak Society Museum is located in McMurray, Pennsylvania. The American Slovak Society Home was established in 1923 in Bradenville to promote fraternity, benevolence, and charity. Western Pennsylvania has many museums and cultural education centers which you can visit. The Rivers of Steel National Heritage Area in Homestead celebrates the region's industrial history, the landscape that fueled it, and the hard-working men and women who made it possible, linking its communities through their shared cultural and industrial heritage. You can book several different types of tours through the Rivers of Steel organization. The Carnegie Library and Museum in Oakland has many genealogical records, photographs, and other documents for Pennsylvania history and Pittsburgh history as well. The Heinz History Center has a number of cultural exhibits and hosts many events throughout the year. The Andy Warhol Museum is a popular attraction, and the McKeesport Heritage Center has unique documents, photographs, and other historical information about Pittsburgh's steel industry and the communities. The Carpatho-Russin Society has its national headquarters in Munhall, Pennsylvania, and the National Slovak Society has its offices in McMurray. Heinz History Center celebrates various ethnicities with different events throughout the year. For example, in 2021, I was asked to participate in a home cooking with the Heinz History Center, where they would invite people in the community to purchase kits to make ethnic dishes. The participants would connect via Zoom and watch as somebody at the Heinz History Center made the recipe. I was invited to participate on Zoom as well to share with them my grandmother's recipe for pierogi and family stories about enjoying Slovak dishes. South Oakland, near the University of Pittsburgh, was the childhood neighborhood of artist Andy Warhol, pro wrestler Bruno Sammartino, and football star Dan Marino, who played quarterback for the University of Pittsburgh and the Miami Dolphins. The Czechoslovak nationality classroom at the University of Pittsburgh was dedicated in 1939. The novel Out of This Furnace by Thomas Bell was published in 1947. It was a novel of immigrant labor in America and based on Bell's own family. There are many events that honor Slovak and Carpatho-Russin heritage throughout the region, including the Slovak Heritage Festival held every November at the University of Pittsburgh's Cathedral of Learning. Professor Martin Votruba, who passed away several years ago, was instrumental in starting this wonderful event that I have participated in as a speaker many times over the years. In the top right photo, Joe Senko of the Western Pennsylvania Slovak Cultural Association was presenting Professor Votruba with an award. There are many dance groups throughout Western Pennsylvania, including the Pittsburgh Slovakians and other groups who perform at events and special occasions throughout the region. In 2001, the Czechoslovak Genealogical Society International held its Genealogical and Cultural Conference in Pittsburgh. I was invited as a speaker that year to present a talk on my recently released book, Three Slovak Women. It was my first time presenting at CGSI, and I've been a presenter ever since. In 2017, CGSI went back to Pittsburgh for its Genealogical and Cultural Conference, and I was honored to be asked to deliver the keynote address. They built this city celebrating Pittsburgh's industry and immigrants. At the banquet that year, I was also presented with the CGSI Distinguished Achievement Award in recognition of my contributions to Slovak, Russin, and Czech genealogy. This was a true honor and a way for me to pay my respects to my immigrant grandparents, because if it were not for them, I would not be able to enjoy the life that I do today. So they had the courage to get on those boats, and for that I am ever grateful. If you're interested in learning more about Pittsburgh's history and its many ethnic groups, you can check out my books for Arcadia Publishing Images of America series, Pittsburgh's Immigrants, which I produced with the Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh, and Slovak Pittsburgh. My other books, Three Slovak Women and Bubba's Kitchen Slovak and Russin Family Recipes and Traditions, have reached worldwide audiences. You can find out more about these books and my other publications on my website, lisaalzo.com. Thank you for joining me for this brief tour of Pittsburgh. Please feel free to contact me with any comments or questions.